Hi, we're going to do a quick review on inequalities. We have a short quiz over that. The quiz will be the same number of questions as the review. Just a quick quiz that I broke that out of the first unit so that it wasn't quite as long of an assessment to do the rest of Unit 1 along with inequalities. So remember our inequalities, those are less than, greater than, or less than equal to, greater than equal to signs. So this number 1 says 6x is less than 18. So to solve that, we would divide both sides by 6 and get x is less than 3. And you would be expected to include that as part of your answer, all right, not just the graph. And then also create a graph, and in this case we would have an open circle at 3. Remember, it's open because we do not have the or equal line. 3 itself is not included in the solution. Numbers less than 3 are included, and so then from the 3, x is less, so we want the numbers that are less to be in our solution set, so we're going to shade off to the left. And you could double check that by putting in one of those numbers, like 1. Is 1 less than 3? Yeah, true statement. So then I know I shaded the right way. I don't have students do that very often. They don't check themselves, but if you would, probably figure out if something went wrong. All right, so problem number 2, we now have a two-step inequality. And that two-step inequality, then after we've done it, we're also going to graph that solution on a number line. So for our two-step inequality in number 2, of course we're going to undo the addition first. We'll subtract 2 on both sides. Now I have negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 9. Now to get the x by itself, we'll need to divide by negative 3. So I now have x, negative 9 divided by negative 3, positive 3, and then let me warm up my voice for you. Yeah, we divide it by a negative, so if you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the sign. If you multiply or divide by a negative, flip the sign. I'll sing my silly song so you don't get it wrong. Yeah. We divide it by a negative. So when I say flip the sign there, that's just my way of saying it so that it fits into if you're happy and you know it. But what I'm talking about is that the symbol must change direction. Okay, so if you multiply or divide by a negative, because that changes the sign of the number, it's on the opposite side of a number line. So suddenly, instead of being less than, it's actually greater than. So we're going to have a closed circle this time because we have that or equal to line, and then our shading is going to go off to the right. And as always, we could plug a number in. We would not want to plug in 3 exactly. We would want to plug in one of the numbers in the shaded area. So let's say, what if I pick 5? If I did negative 3 times 5 and add 2, that answer should be less than or equal to negative 7. So that's negative 15 plus 2, negative 13. Now obviously it's not equal to, but is negative 13 less than 7? Would 13 below 0 be colder than 7 below 0? Yes. So if you forgot to flip your sign, then when you put in a number to check it, it would not be a true statement. So again, like always, there's a way you can check things. All right, next one. You do not have to solve this one. You are just graphing this compound inequality. So remember, compound inequalities have more than one part. And in this case, we have a closed circle at 1 and a closed circle at 9. And then our shading, so x, notice that x is between the two numbers. If we read this, we would say 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 9, which means x is between, just like it looks, x is between 1 and 9, and we would say inclusive. Like 1 and 9 are included, that's why we have the equal lines. And that's it. There's nothing else to write on that one, just the graph. It does not say solve. There's not anything to solve. It's just graph the compound inequality. Okay, number 4. Now we're going to solve and graph the compound inequality. This time, instead of x being between two numbers, which is an and situation, this time it's an or situation. So when it's an or situation, we're going to solve both inequalities separately. Okay, we're going to solve them separately. And then they're just going to share the same graph at the end. So when I solve the one on the left, to get rid of this minus 4, I'm going to add 4. So I'll add 4 over here. My apologies for that gaping hole, but when I didn't put a space, it looked like the negative sign was part of the symbol or something. So negative 4, positive 4 cancels out. X is now alone. So I have x is less than or equal to negative 1. There's my first one. So with an or situation, I can go ahead and graph that now. So I would have a solid circle at negative 1. Remember, that's going to be between 0 and negative 2, not to the left of negative 2. And less than that would be coming back this way. So solid, and just that little tip for that one. And then don't forget, it's a compound inequality, so we've got two parts, so don't forget the second part. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, or whatever it would take to solve, right? In this case, I need to divide. So then I have x is greater than 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I'm going to go to 6. I have an open circle at 6 because there is not an or equal line. And then we want the numbers that are larger than 6 to be shaded. And remember, with an or, this is what's typically going to happen. They're going to go in opposite directions. It cannot be both numbers at the same time in this case. It's either this or that. And then we have two application situations. The first of the applications is simply to write an inequality. We don't have anything to solve. We are just writing an inequality. So if you're still writing things down, you might pause me because I'm going to click my button to make the screen clear. Yes, all right. So just choose a variable. If you want to use V for vote or A for age, knock yourself out. I might just go with X like usual. The minimum voting age is 18. So I'm going to choose my letter. I'm going to have my 18. And then I know I need one of the symbols. So the X represents the people who can vote. So are the people who can vote older than 18 or younger than 18? Yeah, older. So we want X to be greater than 18. What about people who are exactly 18? According to this, are they allowed to vote? They are. So we do want the or equal line because 18 is okay. And that's it for that. Don't try to get fancy on me. You're done. You can show your fanciness on the next problem. So that one is pretty straightforward, just right, and inequality. And then our last problem is one of our cost and revenue problems. And first we need to write an inequality for the situation, and then we're going to solve it and give our answer at the bottom. So in this case it says write and solve an inequality to find out how many she needs to sell to make a profit. And she's selling sandwiches. And so I see that it cost her $3.25 each. So if I let X be my sandwiches, this one's going to get an X because it's each. She pays $200 for her spot at the market. Well, that's not for every sandwich, so we don't need that, doesn't get an X. And then she sells the sandwiches for $5.50 each. So I know there's going to be 2 X's in this problem. So it's different than other application problems that we've done. It's got 2 X's in it. And so her cost, you can set this up with cost on the left, or you can set it up with sales on the left. I'm actually going to set it up with her revenue or her income on the left. So if I put the sales on the left, then 550x, that's the money she has coming in, right? That's her revenue, needs to be greater than the cost, which is the 325x and the $200. So that's my inequality. Again, I could have had things switched around, but it needs to be open to the 5.50x. Now I'm going to get my variables on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 325x, move that variable over here. Remember, you don't want that. You want everything on. You don't want everything on one side, but you want your variables to be on the same side. So 550 minus 325. Some of you may be a little nervous about these decimals. You deal with decimals with money all the time. Behaves the same way. So 2 1/4 x. You have a calculator, so you're in good shape. And then this is greater than 200. Right? Because my x's now are gone on that side. So now we're going to take our 200. We need to divide both sides by 225 because we're trying to get the x by itself. So in this case, the coefficient has a decimal in it. Things still behave the same way. And what we find is we get x is greater than, now this is the part that you're not going to usually see. I get 88.8888. I got a whole bunch of 8s. Now, is anybody buying 8888, a decimal part of a sandwich? No, right? People aren't buying part of a sandwich. So this says x is greater than that. So the minimum number of sandwiches she has to sell would be 89 sandwiches. And I want to be sure that you understand, even if at the end it said x is greater than 88.1, even if that was just 0.1, even if it was 88 exactly, she would still need to sell 89, because 88, she would not have earned enough money. Okay, so we always round up. So we always round up on these profit questions, because otherwise we would not make a profit. Or if it came out evenly and we didn't go up one, it would just mean we broke even, not that we earned any money. And it's asking to make a profit. And that's it for your review. You should, if you understand those questions, I'm sure you're going to ace that quiz. Good luck, and I hope you do well.